Hello, we continue our series Verge3D for Maya Basics. In this part of the tutorial, we'll create an animation for our model and set up UI buttons to trigger it interactively. We'll also add some sounds to accompany this animation. So let's animate all the instruments of a knife model. Go to a side view and enable the wireframe mode. But before we begin, let's change some settings for the animation timeline. Set frame rate to 24. Also set the end frame, make it 50. Finally set the playback speed to 24, that is real time. Okay, we are ready for animation. We'll be selecting moving parts in the outliner one by one and animate them. The animation is created using the standard means of Maya. So we add a key for the original position at frame 0. Then go to frame 50, move the object to the desired position and add a key at frame 50. So if we play the animation, the object moves from its original position to the final one. Let's continue with the rest of the moving parts in the same manner. This is it with these rather simple animations. Now let's deal with the scissors, which is a bit more complicated case. The thing is that we cannot use just two keys for the scissors, since it would poke through the knife body. So let's implement some delay for this object. Add a key at frame 0 for the original position. And also add a key somewhere in the middle, say at frame 20, so that the animation starts later. Finally, at frame 50, move this part to its end position and add a key. So the scissors no longer poke through the body. We also have here this spring object that will be animating differently. To be exact, we'll be using blend shapes. We already have an object to serve as a target blend shape. So the main object will represent the original position of a spring at frame 0, while the second object will represent the end position. To create blend shapes, first select the target object, then the original object. Go to the Form menu and select Blend Shape. Now we can hide the target mesh. As a result, in the object settings we now have blend shapes. We can move this slider to change the weight factor for these geometries. By the way, it looks like we have a small issue here. There is a gap between the scissors handle and the spring. To fix this, being at frame 50, move the handle to the right position and replace the animation key. So we are ready to animate the spring object. Go to frame 0 and move the slider to 0 as well. Right-click on the weight factor and select Set Key. Then go to frame 20 and also set a key for the 0 value since there is no animation yet. Finally, go to frame 50, move the slider to 1 and add a key. Let's check it out. It appears that the animation of the spring is a bit behind the handle's animation. Let's fix this by editing the animation. Go to Windows, Animation Editors, and open up the Graph Editor. Let's organize our workspace a bit. So let's look at what we have here. That gap can be fixed by adding a new key in the middle. We should also adjust the animation curves a bit. So now it looks better synchronized. Okay, this is it with the scissors, handles and spring. The last thing we want to animate are the tweezers and the toothpick. So let's begin with the tweezers. Add keys for the original position and rotation at frame 0. Then this object will move out from its slot until frame 20. Add a position key here. Then move it away from the knife and add the end key at frame 50. Let's also add keys for rotation. Something like this. Let's check it out. Looks great. Now let's deal with the toothpick. As before, set its original position and rotation keys at frame 0. Then, it is moving out until frame 20. And at frame 50, it will move sideways. Also add some rotation animation. Let's check again. It seems that our animation messed up a bit. So let's get back to the graph editor. Let's make the animation linear in the beginning. At first, let's fix the curve for the x-axis. To do this, select these two keys and click the Linear Tangents button. Let's do the same for the y-axis. Let's check it out. Now it is played back correctly. The animation is ready. But before exporting the scene to Verge3D, let's select and group all animated objects. We can add them to a group with Ctrl-G and give this group some meaningful name, say Animated Parts. This will help us access these objects when we'll be triggering their animation with the puzzles. So we are ready to export. Go to Verge3D menu and select Export glTF. Let's run the App Manager. Now run our application by clicking on the first blue icon, or by using the right-click menu. Apparently we have exported our scene in the unfolded state, yet we'd like it to be folded initially. So let's get back to Maya and fix this by selecting frame 0 on the timeline. Also, in the case the animation is automatically started, you can uncheck Auto Start in Verge3D Animation panel, doing so for all involved objects. So let's export the scene again. Run the application. Now all the instruments are folded, and we can start implementing triggering their animation with our UI buttons. To do this, let's run the puzzles editor. In order to detect that the button was clicked by the user, we can add the HTML puzzle on event. Select click in its drop-down. Now we need to insert the ID of a button element. We assigned these IDs in Webflow in the previous parts. To see them, you can run the application and open up the browser console. Here you can click on the very first button and inspect the element that you are interested in. In the HTML code, we can see that this element has an assigned ID, which we can simply copy. Get back to the puzzles, add a text block and paste the ID. Be sure to check in parent doc, since this button element is located in the outer HTML file. So we are now able to detect button clicks. Let's trigger the animation inside this puzzle. This can be done with the Play Animation puzzle. It requires a selector for animated objects. We have a whole group of animated objects, so let's use the selector for groups. In it, select animated parts. This is how we named our group in Maya. We, however, have to add another puzzle from the animation category, namely Get Animations Off. This puzzle will retrieve all animation clips from our group of objects, so that the animation puzzle can play them. Also switch loop to once in the drop-down, as we want the animation to be played just one time. Let's see how it works. Save this scenario, get back to the Application tab and refresh the page. make the console smaller. If we click the button, the animation is actually played. Let's make the second button work. Copy and paste this group of puzzles and edit the ID for the button. We need the instruments to fold back, which can be achieved by playing the animation in reverse. So click the blue gear button on the animation puzzle and check Advanced Playback options. Then simply check Reversed. Save the puzzles. Reload the application. Click the first button, the instruments unfold. Click the second button, the instruments fold back. So this works perfectly, except that if we click the fold button once again, the animation is played again, which looks quite odd. Luckily, we can fix this with the puzzles. We can track the state of our model by using a so-called variable. This will allow us to trigger animations at the appropriate moment. Go to Variables and create a new variable by typing its name. Let's name it knife_unfolded. Initially, when the application just started, the knife instruments are all folded. So we should assign false to this variable. Let's move it to the beginning of our scenario, so that all other puzzles were aware of its value. We are going to change this variable according to the changing state. To do this correctly, we'll reveal another slot when finished in the play animation puzzle. The puzzles in this slot are triggered once the playback is complete. Let's insert our variable in this slot and assign true to it, meaning that after the knife instruments are unfolded, the state should become unfolded too. On the other hand, once the folding animation is finished, the knife instruments are all brought to their folded state. So now we are tracking the state with our variable, and can check all button clicks against this variable. To perform checks, we can use the puzzle's if and comparison from logic. Also drag out the getter puzzle for our variable. So if this variable is set to false, the knife is in its folded state, meaning that playing the unfolding animation should be allowed. On the other hand, if this variable value is true, the reverse animation should be allowed to play. Let's save our puzzles and refresh the application. Unfold the knife instruments, fold them back. Try folding again, the animation no longer plays back. Unfold. Click Unfold again, the animation does not play since the state of the knife is being tracked and checked. We are done with the animation. Now let's add some audio to accompany this animation. You can find the pre-made sound files in the starter files, which you can download using the link below this video. Just copy the folder with the sound files to the application folder. Get back to the scenario editor. From the sound video category, drag out the play puzzle, as well as the sound loader puzzle. Here we have to type the right path to the first sound file we want to load. /sounds/unfold.mp3. Place it near the play animation puzzle. Save and refresh the application tab. Click the Unfold button. Now we can hear the sound. Get back to the puzzles and duplicate these puzzles to play the sound for folding. Let's check. Both sounds are played. But maybe the sounds are too loud. To fix this, add the puzzle called Set Volume. Make the volume of our sound 0.1 since the real knife's opening and closing is barely heard. Let's do the same for the other sound. Save, refresh. The sound is no longer that intense. Maybe we should even make it a bit louder. Let's do a final check. Unfolding and folding. This is it with animation and sound. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.